At this stage, Bungie has made enough mistakes since the launch of Destiny 2 that the studio needs every ounce of goodwill they can muster from fans of the series and gamers as a whole. We don't need to recount how 2017 was a complete disaster for the infamous title, though the studio has been making strides in 2018 to rectify what's overall been a disappointing sequel, even if at a much slower rate than we'd like. The recent Season 3 update in particular took some significant steps in the right direction, with the introduction of ranked PvP, new maps, private matches, heroic strike modifiers, an emote wheel, additional vault space, enhanced exotic weapons, and more, though the Warmind DLC disappointed with its short campaign, lackluster story, and over-reliance on recycled content. One bright spot of Warmind is the introduction of the Escalation Protocol Horde mode, but it's hampered by how you can only participate with a max party of 3 friends, which is highly inconvenient for a 9-player activity that requires a lot of coordination. But going back to Season 3 updates, another area that's been somewhat mitigated further is the Eververse marketplace with the introduction of the Prismatic Matrix. So this system doesn't resolve the psychological manipulation that's par for the course with chance-based monetization systems, but it does alleviate the randomness in obtaining cosmetic items, as you're guaranteed something new per character per week, and all Prismatic Matrix rewards can technically be earned via gameplay for those willing to grind it out. But just when Bungie seemed to be making steady progress on all fronts, they pull a monetization scheme that harkens back to their greedy habits, this time in the form of fully paywalled event-specific items. So for those who don't know, May 22nd, 2018 marked the beginning of the Iron Banner event, which sees players engaging in special PvP matches that grant them unique weapons and gear. Now, as part of the event, something that Bungie introduced to the notorious Eververse marketplace was something called the Iron Emote Bundle, which is described as, quote, a limited time bundle for guardians who remember the Iron Lords. It costs 1,100 silver to purchase up front, or about $10 for real money, and its main attraction is the exotic emote called Salute of the Lords. Some of you might look at this and say, well, at least we have the option to purchase this item without having to resort to grind or loot boxes. And yes, it's true that players have been asking for more direct ways to purchase items rather than having to resort to glorified gambling. But the problem with the Salute of the Lords emote is that there is no other way to obtain it but to buy the Iron Emote Bundle. There is no option to spend in-game currency, Bright Dust, to buy it. The emote can't be found listed in any of the game's loot pools, and nobody has seen this emote drop via gameplay loot. It isn't like the overhauled Battlefront 2 where appearances can be bought with real money up front or be earned in-game as well by saving up on in-game currency earned via gameplay. Destiny 2 players were hoping that they were just making presumptions and that Bungie would address the issue by stating that the Salute of the Lords emote was somehow obtainable via gameplay. But one of the game's community managers confirmed definitively that it is completely paywalled behind the bundle, stating, quote, we have received a lot of feedback about making more Eververse items available for direct purchase. Currently, this emote does not drop anywhere else. Ah yes, there's that boilerplate we're listening to feedback statement we all know and love. What makes this situation truly egregious is that the emote in question isn't just some trivial item, but rather it pertains to the legendary Iron Lords, who are not only a big deal in the Destiny lore, but are also thematically tied to the Iron Banner event that's currently ongoing. Players are frustrated that during a time when Bungie should be building trust with a downtrodden community, they would insist on confining a cool event-themed item to the Eververse rather than using it as a reward incentive to keep players engaged in the Iron Banner event. Then there is the matter of price point. $10 for one emote and a few extra things is simply ridiculous. Many players have already spent at least between $60 and $100 on Destiny 2, depending on how many of the expansions they bought, and they've had to endure trials and tribulations as Bungie scramble to get their shit together. So it's insulting to see them lock such a prolific emote that probably didn't take much resources to make behind such a strict paywall. Now, I'm sure some will argue that it's just an emote, that it doesn't really affect gameplay, and sure, that may be true, but it's the principle of it. The hope was that Season 3 would mark a fresh start in light of an incessant string of gross missteps on Bungie's part, particularly with how they previously handled microtransactions, back when rewards were often throttled and new cosmetic content was mainly confined to the Eververse and its loot boxes, rather than scattered throughout the game's activities as rewards. Considering the thick cloud of stigma currently looming over Destiny 2, this is one game that cannot afford to be stingy about being generous with rewards and monetization. And yet here we are, seeing Bungie repeating similar mistakes despite their predicament. It would be one thing if players could also earn the Salute of Lords emote through gameplay, if the price tag was significantly lower than $10, and or if the emote wasn't so prolifically tied to the limited time week-long Iron Banner event. But the fact that a prolific event-specific exotic emote is being paywalled during its own event, the fact that it can't be earned as gameplay reward, the fact that it's being sold at such an unreasonable price, and the fact that it's a limited time item that may be gone for good if not bought by a deadline, all culminate into a pretty scummy decision on Bungie's part. No, it isn't the end of the world, but giving Bungie an inch on this will only encourage them to take a mile moving forward, and it will only serve to piss off a community that was under the impression that Bungie and they had been over shit like this, that this was one hurdle that they had managed to get past a long time ago. Bungie's regression to old habits is a gesture that's only bound to put a wrench in the arduous process of re-establishing trust with a community that's disillusioned at the studio's inability to deliver the sequel that Destiny deserved. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.